The 10x Rule by Grant Cardone. Have you ever thought that no matter how hard you try, your results still feel small compared to your dreams? Like you're putting in effort, staying busy, doing what everyone says, but deep down, you know you're capable of something much bigger. That gap between what you're doing and what you want, that's exactly where most people get stuck. The truth is, most people don't fail because they are lazy. They fail because they are thinking too small. They set normal goals, take normal actions, and then expect extraordinary results. But life doesn't work like that. If your goals are average, your actions will be average. And if your actions are average, your results will always stay average. This is where the idea of thinking 10x changes everything. It's not just about working harder, it's about completely shifting the way you see effort, success, and your own potential. When you start thinking in terms of 10x, you stop underestimating what it actually takes to win. You begin to realize that the effort you thought was enough is just the starting line. Think about it. If your goal is to grow on YouTube, most people will upload once a week and hope for results. But a 10x thinker, they will study, experiment, upload consistently, improve their skills, and push far beyond what feels comfortable. The difference is not talent. The difference is the scale of thinking and action. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that success requires a little more effort than average. In reality, it requires massively more. And if you don't prepare yourself mentally for that level, you will quit early, thinking it's too hard or not meant for you. When you adopt the 10x mindset, something powerful happens. Problems don't scare you anymore. Challenges don't slow you down. Instead, you expect them. You plan for them. You move through them with confidence because you already know this is part of the game. At the end of the day, success isn't about luck, and it's not about shortcuts. It's about thinking bigger than everyone else and backing that thinking with relentless action. Because once your mindset expands, your limits disappear. Have you ever thought that you're doing everything right? Working hard, staying consistent, putting in effort, but still not getting the results you expected? It feels frustrating, almost unfair. You start questioning yourself, your strategy, even your potential. But what if the problem isn't your effort? What if the problem is that your effort is still not enough? Most people believe that success comes from doing a little extra. They think if they work slightly harder than others, they'll get ahead. But in reality, slightly more effort doesn't create big results. It only creates slightly better outcomes. And that's why most people stay stuck in the same place for years. The real secret is massive action, not normal action, not comfortable action. Massive, uncomfortable, relentless action. The kind of effort that feels extreme compared to what others are doing. Because success doesn't respond to average effort. It responds to volume, persistence, and intensity. Imagine two people starting a YouTube channel. One uploads one video a week and hopes it works. The other studies content daily, uploads multiple times, improves editing, tests thumbnails, learns from failures, and keeps pushing even when views are low. After a few months, the difference becomes obvious. It's not luck, it's the amount of action taken. The same applies to anything: gym, business, studies, skills. The person who takes more action learns faster. The person who learns faster improves faster. And the person who improves faster eventually wins. It's a simple formula, but most people avoid it because it demands more than they are willing to give. Massive action also does something powerful to your mindset. It removes fear. When you take small actions, every result feels personal. Every failure hurts more. But when you're taking massive action, you stop overthinking. You're too busy moving forward. You understand that failure is just part of the process, not the end of it. At first, massive action feels exhausting. It feels like you're doing too much. But over time, it becomes your new normal. And while others are still waiting for the right time or the perfect plan, you are already ahead, simply because you did more. In the end, success isn't about doing things perfectly. It's about doing far more than anyone else is willing to do. Because when your actions increase, your chances increase. And when your chances increase enough, success becomes unavoidable. Have you ever thought that maybe the biggest thing holding you back isn't your lack of resources, talent, or opportunities, but the way you've been conditioned to think since childhood? Most people never question this. They just follow the same safe path. Study, get a stable job, avoid risks, and try not to fail. It sounds secure, but it quietly limits everything you're capable of achieving. From a young age, we are taught to play it safe. Don't take too many risks. Don't aim too high. Be realistic. But what does realistic actually mean? In most cases, it means settling for less than your true potential. It means choosing comfort over growth and security over success. The problem with this mindset is that it trains you to avoid discomfort. And success lives on the other side of discomfort. Every big opportunity comes with uncertainty, pressure, and risk. But if your mind is programmed to avoid those things, you will naturally pull back every time you get close to something big. Think about how most people react to challenges. The moment things get hard, they slow down. They start doubting themselves. They look for easier options. Not because they are weak, but because they have been trained to protect themselves instead of pushing forward. This is the middle-class mindset. It's focused on survival, not domination. Another hidden trap is the fear of failure. Society makes failure look like something to be ashamed of. But in reality, failure is just part of the process. The people who succeed are not the ones who avoid failure. They are the ones who face it again and again without stopping. Meanwhile, those who fear failure end up avoiding action altogether. Comfort zones are dangerous because they feel good. You don't feel stressed, you don't feel pressure, but you also don't grow. Days turn into months, months turn into years, and suddenly you realize you're in the same place where you started. Breaking this mindset requires a decision to stop playing small, a decision to accept discomfort as part of growth, and most importantly, a decision to aim for something that actually scares you. Because the truth is simple. If your goals don't challenge you, they won't change you. And if you keep thinking like everyone else, you will keep living like everyone else. The moment you break that pattern, everything starts to shift. Most people go through life taking action, but very few ever stop to ask themselves, what kind of action am I actually taking? Because not all action leads to success. In fact, there are different levels of action, and understanding them can completely change the direction of your life. The first level is doing nothing. This is where people have dreams, ideas, and goals, but they never act on them. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect motivation. Days pass, nothing happens, and slowly those dreams start to fade. It feels safe, but in reality, it guarantees failure. The second level is retreat. This is even more dangerous. At this level, people start something, face a little difficulty, and immediately pull back. Maybe they tried going to the gym for a few days, or started a project, but as soon as it became uncomfortable, they stopped. Fear, doubt, and overthinking take control, and instead of moving forward, they move backward. The third level is normal action. This is where most people operate. They do what is expected. They follow routines, complete tasks, and stay busy. On the surface, it looks productive. But the problem is everyone else is doing the same thing. So even though they are working, they are not standing out. And if you don't stand out, you don't get extraordinary results. Then comes the fourth level, massive action. This is where everything changes. This is the level where people go far beyond what is considered normal. They put in more time, more effort, more focus, and more consistency than anyone around them. They don't stop when things get hard. They push harder. For example, think about someone trying to grow on YouTube. A person taking normal action might upload once in a while and hope for growth. But someone taking massive action will study the platform, upload consistently, improve their content, test different ideas, and keep going even when results are slow. Over time, the gap between these two people becomes huge. Massive action is uncomfortable. It feels extreme. People might even think you're doing too much, but that's exactly the point. Because success doesn't come from doing what everyone else is doing. It comes from doing far more. In the end, your results are directly connected to the level of action you take. If you stay at the lower levels, your life stays the same. But the moment you step into massive action, everything begins to move in your favor. Most people set goals, but very few ever achieve anything truly big. And the reason is simple. They are setting goals that are too small. Goals that feel safe, realistic, and achievable. At first, this sounds smart, But in reality, small goals create small actions, and small actions lead to small results. When you set a normal goal, your brain calculates the minimum effort required to achieve it. You don't push yourself. You don't stretch your limits. You just do enough to get by. And even if you achieve that goal, it doesn't change your life in any significant way. You stay in the same cycle, just with slightly better outcomes. But when you start thinking in terms of 10x, your entire approach to goals changes. Instead of asking, "What can I realistically achieve?" you start asking, "What would I go after if I removed all limits?" This one shift forces your mind to expand. Suddenly, your goals become bigger, bolder, and far more exciting. Big goals demand big actions. If your goal is 10 times bigger, your effort cannot stay the same. You are forced to think differently, act differently, and push beyond what feels comfortable. And even if you don't reach the exact goal, you will still achieve far more than you would have with a small target. Think about someone who sets a goal to gain 100 subscribers on YouTube. They might post occasionally and hope for growth. But someone who sets a goal of 10,000 subscribers will behave completely differently. They will study content deeply, improve quality, stay consistent, and take their work seriously. The goal itself changes the level of action. Another important thing is clarity. Big goals give you direction. They make your decisions easier, because you know exactly what you're working toward. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter and focus only on what moves you forward. Of course, big goals can feel scary. They might even seem impossible at first, but that fear is a sign that you are stepping out of your comfort zone, and growth only happens outside that zone. At the end of the day, the size of your goal determines the size of your life. If you aim small, you stay small. But if you dare to aim big, you unlock a version of yourself that you didn't even know existed. Because it's not just about achieving the goal. It's about becoming the person capable of achieving it. Fear, failure, and rejection. These are the three things that stop most people before they even get close to success. Not because they are impossible to handle, but because they are misunderstood. People see them as signs to stop, when in reality, they are signals that you are moving in the right direction. Fear is natural. It shows up whenever you try something new or step outside your comfort zone. But the problem is, most people wait for fear to disappear before they take action. And that moment never comes. The truth is, confident people are not fearless. They simply act despite the fear. They understand that fear is just a reaction, not a command. Failure is another word that people avoid. Nobody wants to fail. It feels embarrassing, frustrating, and discouraging. But if you look closely, every successful person has failed more times than others have even tried. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process. Every mistake teaches you something. Every setback shows you what doesn't work. And over time, those lessons build your strength. Rejection is just as powerful. Whether it's people ignoring your content, rejecting your ideas, or doubting your abilities, it hurts. But rejection is not personal. It's part of growth. The more you put yourself out there, the more rejection you will face. And that's a good thing, because it means you are taking action while others are still hesitating. Most people try to avoid these experiences. They play safe, stay quiet, and limit themselves just to avoid feeling uncomfortable. But in doing so, they also avoid growth, progress, and success. They stay stuck not because they lack potential, but because they are controlled by their fears. The real shift happens when you change your perspective. Instead of seeing fear as a stop sign, you see it as a green signal. Instead of fearing failure, you start expecting it. Instead of avoiding rejection, you learn to handle it. When you reach this point, nothing can easily stop you. You become more focused, more resilient, and more determined. Because now you understand that these challenges are not here to block you. They are here to shape you. In the end, the people who succeed are not the ones who avoid fear, failure, and rejection. They are the ones who face them again and again, until those things lose their power completely. Most people spend their time worrying about competition, what others are doing, how far ahead they are, and how hard it will be to beat them. They constantly compare themselves, trying to keep up or stay slightly ahead. But this mindset itself is a trap, because the moment you focus on competition, you limit your vision. When you compete, You are reacting. You are adjusting your actions based on what others are doing. And that means you are always one step behind. No matter how hard you try, you are still playing someone else's game. This is why most people stay average. They are too busy watching others instead of creating their own path. The real shift happens when you stop competing and start dominating. Domination is not about being slightly better. It's about being so consistent, so visible, and so active that people can't ignore you. Instead of asking, "How can I beat others?" you start asking, "How can I become the only choice?" Think about it in terms of content creation. If you are just posting like everyone else, following the same trends and doing the same things, you become replaceable. People can easily move on to someone else, but when you show up more often, deliver more value, improve constantly, and build your own style, you create a strong presence. Over time, people start recognizing you, trusting you, and choosing you. Domination also requires responsibility. You can't blame competition, algorithms, or external factors anymore. You focus on what you can control: your effort, your consistency, your growth. And when you take full control, your progress becomes faster and more predictable. Another powerful part of this mindset is visibility. Many people are talented, but they stay hidden. They don't put themselves out there enough. But in today's world, visibility matters just as much as skill. The more you show up, the more opportunities you create for yourself. Of course, domination is not easy. It requires more effort than most people are willing to give. It demands consistency even when you don't feel like it. But that's exactly why it works, because very few people are willing to go that far. In the end, success is not about beating a few people. It's about becoming so active, so committed, and so valuable that competition doesn't even matter anymore. Because when you dominate your space, you don't chase opportunities. Opportunities start coming to you. Success is not built on motivation. It's built on discipline, consistency, and a level of obsession that most people are afraid to accept. Motivation feels good in the beginning. It gives you energy, excitement, and a strong push to start. But the problem is, motivation doesn't last. It comes and goes depending on your mood, your environment, and your situation. This is where most people fail. They rely on motivation to take action. So when they feel inspired, they work hard. But when that feeling disappears, they slow down or stop completely. Days get skipped, routines break, and slowly, progress fades away. Discipline works differently. Discipline means showing up even when you don't feel like it. It means doing the work on days when you're tired, distracted, or not in the mood. It removes the emotional dependency and replaces it with commitment. You don't ask yourself whether you feel motivated. You simply do what needs to be done. Consistency is what turns small actions into big results. One day of hard work won't change your life, but showing up every single day again and again creates momentum. And once momentum builds, things start becoming easier. You improve faster, you gain confidence, and your results start compounding. Then comes obsession. Most people hear this word and think it's negative. They believe in balance, in taking it easy, in not going too far. But if you look at anyone who has achieved something big, you will notice one thing: they were obsessed. Not in a harmful way, but in a focused, driven way. They thought about their goals constantly. They cared deeply about their work. They pushed beyond what felt normal. Obsession gives you an edge. While others are taking breaks, you are still improving. While others lose focus, you stay locked in. And over time, this difference becomes massive. Of course, this path is not comfortable. It requires sacrifice, it demands time, energy, and patience. But it also gives you something rare, the ability to create results that most people only dream about. In the end, success is not about how you feel. It's about what you do consistently over a long period of time. When you combine discipline with consistency and a touch of obsession, you become unstoppable. Because now, nothing depends on your mood. You are fully in control of your actions. At this point, everything comes down to one final truth: execution. You can have big goals, powerful mindset, and all the right knowledge, but if you don't take action daily, none of it matters. Ideas don't change your life. Plans don't change your life. Action does. Most people spend too much time preparing. They keep learning, watching videos, making strategies, waiting for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment never comes. There will always be doubts, distractions, and reasons to delay. And if you keep waiting, you will stay exactly where you are. The real winners are not the smartest people or the most talented ones. They are the ones who take action again and again without overthinking every step. They understand that clarity comes from doing, not just thinking. The more you act, the more you learn. The more you learn, the better you become. Execution also builds confidence. When you take action, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Even small wins start to build belief, and once that belief grows, you stop hesitating. You stop questioning yourself. You start moving with certainty. Another important thing is speed. In today's world, speed matters. The faster you act, the faster you learn, and the faster you improve. While others are still planning, you are already gaining experience. And over time, that experience becomes your biggest advantage. But execution is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. You will make mistakes. You will face setbacks. Things will not always go as planned. But none of that matters if you keep moving forward. Progress is built through imperfect action, repeated over time. At the end of the day, your future depends on what you do after this moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because every delay costs you time, and time is the one thing you can never get back. So take that first step, start where you are, use what you have, and keep going no matter what. If you found value in this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel Richmind Audiobook for more powerful content like this. Your support helps this channel grow and reach more people who want to change their lives.